Hi everyone, we are back with another video, and today we are making Castile soap. You can buy this at the store. It is an olive oil based soap, but it can be pretty expensive, and so it's a lot cheaper to make at home, and it's kind of just fun. You can add different things to it, you know exactly what's going into it, and so anyway, that's why we're doing it today. So you're gonna need a couple of things. First of all, you're going to need a kitchen scale. All of these that you'll need, I have listed, I actually made a link tree, and so they're listed, the link will be listed underneath the video. You will need potassium hydroxide. So in order to make soap, you can use either potassium hydroxide or you can use sodium hydroxide. However, in order to make liquid soap, you need the potassium hydroxide, which is known as potash. Whereas the other is lye. So we need potash for this video. For this recipe, sorry. And then lastly, you need vegetable glycerin. The glycerin in this recipe is mostly so that it's a faster process, it's a lot easier of a process, but it does also help to nourish your hands better. And things that you can use Castile soap on, you can use it on your dishes, you can use it as hand soap, you can use it as body soap. Honestly, it's good for any and everything. And because it's not lye based, it's the potash base, you can use it on your cast iron. All right, so first we're just gonna start by measuring everything out. I will say this video, it's very, very important that you do everything in order, that you do everything with good ventilation, and that if you are worried about it, I would recommend using goggles and gloves. However, I'm not going to be using those today just because I don't have them, and I'm making absolutely sure not to touch this. You cannot touch this. It is in big, big red letters. Do not touch it. So anyway, here we go. First thing that we're going to be measuring out is the olive oil. You want to be sure to use extra virgin olive oil because it's the purest form of olive oil. And if you buy any other, if it does not say extra virgin, then it may not even be olive oil. It can have other oils substituted in, and they don't have to disclaim it. So for this scale, you're just going to turn it on. Press the power button here, it's going to come up, and then you can go from unit to unit to unit. We are going to be using ounces, and so it comes up to 0. So I'm going to put my pot, because we're going to be starting with a slow cooker, and the oil is going to warm up in there. So I want to put the pot on, but I want to put it to tare, and then I'm going to pour in 32 ounces of olive oil. I just put this down into my slow cooker. I am turning it on, slow cook, and I'm being sure to turn it down to low and then starting it. So this will warm up, but while this is happening, we're gonna go ahead and get the rest of our mixture together. All right, so next we are adding our vegetable glycerin and our water to a bowl, and we're gonna mix that together. What we're gonna start with, I've tared it, make sure that it is at 0. We're gonna start with 11.55 ounces of water. Okay, so we are adding 8 ounces of glycerin.
So we're just gonna mix these together as best as we can, because after this, we are adding the potash. And it's just gonna dissolve down in there as you're mixing. So you can use a metal, or you can use a, wooden spatula, or you can use just a regular rubber spatula. And so you can see the water is pretty clear. Okay, now as I said, the potassium hydroxide is the stuff that we want to be very careful adding into our mixture. We are just using 6.52 ounces.
Okay, so this is what the potassium hydroxide looks like. It's just little flakes. Again, it is potassium hydroxide. This is not going to hurt you if you're breathing it in a well-ventilated area. Okay, now we want to be sure to, again, tare it out. And we want to be very careful when we are adding this into the solution because it does react in water and we don't want to get hurt. We don't want it to splash into our eyes. We don't want it to splash onto our skin. And so I'm just going to add this to 6.52 ounces. Okay, so I got it to 6.53 and now we're just going to stir it until it dissolves in there. Again, you want to be very careful not to splash it onto yourself and not to get it on your hands. So this is my first time doing it. You can feel heat when you're touching this and you can actually hear it down in there. And actually, take back what I said about using a spatula like this. It seems to be tearing it apart. So
Okay, so it seems to be done. Again, it's very hot, like extremely hot. So you do want to be very careful. It seems that it has dyed my wooden spoon.
all right, so my olive oil is warm in here, and I do want to reiterate, you do not want this to touch your hands. You do not want this to get in your eyes. You do not want this to get on any part of your skin. So we are going to be as careful as possible getting this into here. You don't want it to splash, so you want to pour very, very slowly. If you do get anything on you, you are going to soak your skin for like 15 minutes is what it said. So here with all of the white bubbles, you can see that the saponification is starting to happen. This is where the potash is starting to feed off of the oil in the olive oil, the oils and fats, sorry. And so interesting enough, potash was actually found to be soap when people were putting fats like meats and whatnot on top of their fires, and it would drip down, the oils would drip down from it into their potash, and they noticed that there was a sudsing that was starting to happen, and they started to play with it, and they realized that it could clean things, that it would suds up underwater, and that it was safe to use on their bodies. And so that is actually how soap was discovered, which is pretty interesting. In order to make soap, you do have to have either the potassium hydroxide or the sodium hydroxide. Again, you use the potassium hydroxide or potash for liquid soap, and you'll use the sodium hydroxide or lye for a solid soap. And so we're just going to keep going at this with the immersion blender, and then as it gets thick, we'll come back in. So I'm going to keep going, and as it starts to thicken up some more, I will show y'all what that looks like. You can see the sudsing is starting to happen. It's getting thicker. All right, now it is TED Talk time. I've been stirring for a very long time, and I'm tired, so we're going to be talking now. All right, so some things about making Castile soap. Now, if you want it to be pure, true Castile soap, you want to use all olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. That being said, if you want to make one that is cheaper, you can do other types of oils. You can do coconut oil. The difference is that coconut oil is not as hydrating, and so you can find that using it, your hands are drying out, whereas olive oil is very nourishing. Or you can even use a half and half. Now, the other differences between using olive oil versus coconut oil is that olive oil is not going to sud up as much, whereas coconut oil is going to suds up a lot. That being said, neither one is cleaning better than another, because you don't need the suds in order for it to work. So I hope that helps. Now back to the video.
All right, so it has been sitting for a while. As you can see, it has turned into a paste. The full amount of time that this needs to be cooking is 3 to 4 hours. And the way that we tell if it's done is by diluting it in water. So I believe it has currently been cooking for around 2 hours. So we have a ways to go. You just want to stir every 30 minutes to make sure it's not sticking all to the bottom.
All right, so we're gonna check and see if the soap is done. So you're just gonna take either your filtered or your distilled water, put it in a cup. We're gonna take a little bit of the soap, and I'm just gonna take what I have here on my, actually, I'm gonna take what I have here, and I'm gonna try to dissolve it down in there. If the water ends up cloudy, then it's not quite ready. If the water ends up clear, then it is. All right, so it is ready. It's still a little bit cloudy, but the sample that I took to dilute is a lot younger than what has been cooking in here. So that means it's all ready, just because this is just a fraction away from being clear all the way through. So we're gonna go ahead and put it in a container, and then we'll get the actual soap ready. Alrighty, so we're just gonna put it in this container here because we're not gonna be using all of this for the soap. So I'm just gonna scoop it out and get it in there as best as I can, and I'll clean up the edges later. Alrighty, so my soap dispenser holds up to 2 cups. So I got 1.5 cups worth of soap, water, warm water, and I'm just filling it until it reaches the 2 cup mark with soap paste. Because we want it to be diluted, and warm water obviously dilutes it the fastest. Now, it's not going to be fully diluted, most likely for a couple of hours. It does take a little while, but I'm going to let this dilute in here, and then I'll show you the finished product. Alrighty, all of my soap pieces have shrunk small enough where they can go down the funnel. So we are just going to pour the diluted liquid down in there. You can see it's already sudsing up. And you can see those little soap pieces. Those are gonna dilute overnight. I just didn't want to wait all day to make this little shot. So I will show more tomorrow as everything has diluted. All right, so first thing you may notice is the color and the chunks. The chunks are going to dilute overnight, and the color is simply because of the olive oil. If you want a soap that is white and this bothers you, coconut oil is a better way to go. I'm just gonna let this dilute overnight, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you how it suds up when you wash your hands and how it's like actual soap. All right. One other thing I just wanted to mention is that I know I made this whole soap making task seem quite daunting, seem a little scary. The only part that's scary is the sodium hydroxide or the potassium hydroxide. Once it turns into soap, it is no longer toxic at all. But see, it suds up really well. If you use coconut oil, it's gonna sud up even more than that. All right. All right, and so with the rest of the soap paste, it's going to, it'll be preserved for as long as you need it to be preserved for. It doesn't really go bad. There are some controversial articles if you look them up, but soap doesn't really go bad. And according to many of the articles that I've read, a lot of people don't agree with that as well. So just store it under your sink. It's gonna make a lot of soap because as you saw, we did not use very much of the soap paste for this amount of soap. But I hope that you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you have any questions, any thoughts, any just comments about it. Y'all have a great day. I hope that you enjoyed this video and let me know if you make it. Y'all have a great one.